Welcome back. I'm Curtis Smith. We're with Jim Seiss at Roland's Nursery. We're going to find out some of the questions people are asking about plants right now. We're looking at pansies now, aren't we, Jim?
Yes, we are. We're looking at pansies, and we have many different types of pansies that are available to people, and people are often confused about the different types that they might have. They also are very interested in when to plant pansies. In New Mexico, depending on where you live, you can plant them at different times, but usually in the fall of the year they do very, very nicely in most areas. Then again, in the spring of the year they do very nice also. But if you plant them in the fall in some areas like in Albuquerque and that surrounding area, then you will get them where they will rebloom. Plant them in the fall, they'll rebloom in the spring. And even during the winter time when we have warm winters, you can find them in bloom. We have some pansies here, and this is really a viola, and it's really an old-fashioned type one, and they have very, very small plants. They call them Johnny Jump-Ups sometimes beside viola. They've done a lot with this particular plant, and they've begun to hybridize them and work with them, and they have something like these violas here. And this one here is a very beautiful one, and it's called Dancing Bears, and you get a variety of color, but they're just a little bit larger, and they will bloom. Many people like these because it has some nostalgia with it, and they like it. They can remember that their parents used to graze this, and it really was a good one. Then we have these here. These have been hybridized quite a bit, and this real nice pink one, they give you a nice color. The blooms are not as big, but you just get a profusion of blooms, and people like them for the color. There's such a very different color combinations with some of these, and you can see here the orchids and the pinks, but you can get bright yellows, whites, and you can do a lot with planting your garden so that you can have a lot of them. Then you get, many people like to plant the giant ones, and these are really very, very large giant ones, and they do very well in the Albuquerque area and all over the state of New Mexico.
People love the face on the pansy.
That's right. They love the face on the pansy. Very easy to grow. One of the things that we might talk about is that they find the pansies are a little bit exacting on the type of fertilizer that they like to use, and some regular garden fertilizers will cause them to grow and not bloom. And so you do need to have, and they do sell some things that are specifically designed for pansies that would have a lower amount of nitrogen but give you a lot of phosphorus and really grow and give you a lot of bloom.
These would also prefer a very well amended soil, lots of organic matter in the soil.
That's correct, and that's pretty true anywhere in New Mexico. We're putting in that organic matter, and these would like that, and it helps conserve that moisture also, which they would like to have.
Okay, there's another very common fall blooming plant that people are interested in, and that's the chrysanthemum.
That's correct.
Let's look at those. Well, Jim, these chrysanthemums are really spectacular.
Yes, they are one of those plants, you know, that when they're ready and bloom in the fall of the year, they give you a spectacular color, and you can do an awful lot with them in landscaping your yard with them. You can use them in containers, and they work very well, and you can move them around. Very beautiful plants for a particular season.
You know, they're one of those plants, along with the pansies, that are in bloom when almost everything else has quit. They're a farewell to summer.
That's correct.
And they're beautiful plants for that. But pretty soon, the bloom's going to be finished. What do you do with the plants then?
When they finish blooming, one of the things you can do is to cut them back. You cut them back, and that way they would be able to take it through the winter, and they will survive over the winter. These are garden mums, and they're very hardy plants, and next year they should give you a bloom again in the fall of the year.
And so this is something to plant, to grow, and maybe every once in a while to divide and multiply.
That's correct. They should be divided because they can get very thick, and quite often when they begin to grow, they grow from the outside, and in the center you get some dead material there. And so if you can separate them from time to time, this would be real good and probably healthy for their plant. You can amend your soil and work up that bed and replant those side shoots.
You know, I also notice every year there seems like there's new varieties out there, new colors. You want to be getting some new ones every once in a while too, don't you?
Yes, there's many different new colors that appear every year. It's just really remarkable of what they've done with the color of these particular plants. Some of these plants are really, I would say that they are designed so that they bloom and they have this real nice bush form. Others you have to pinch to keep them that way, but I think with a lot of the garden mums, you will find that they're a nice cushion of plant material that just blooms very, very beautifully.
Jim, this is something we don't see as much as the chrysanthemums here. These are asters.
That's correct. Most people are acquainted with asters that are the annual asters, and they get these particular ones here, and they want to know if they handle them the same way. And there are two different plants. One of them is an annual, and freeze back, and this one is a perennial, which means it will last for a long time in the garden. One of the things that we look at, they're very, very nice plants, but their bloom time is very, very short. But you can see how pretty they are, and they give you lots of color, and then they'll come up the next year and give you a spectacular bloom again. They probably grow anywhere from 2 to 3 feet high, depending on the particular species, but very, very beautiful plant to have in New Mexico.
And what do you do with them after they finish blooming?
After they finish blooming, you can cut them back again, almost like we did with the chrysanthemums, and we cut them back, and then they will take it through the winter and will grow again. One of the things that they recommend is that you don't over-fertilize these particular plants, and especially right after planting. Probably wait until next spring and give them some fertilization at that time, and they should bloom very nicely for you in the fall of the year. They too like to bloom during the fall months.
Well, Jim, thank you. It's really interesting seeing these fall plants, and it really is nice to hear the questions that come in, what people need to do so they can avoid problems.
Well, thank you for inviting me.